Thank you, Lauren, and good afternoon, everyone, wherever you're listening today. Welcome. I'm Michael Marsolek. Welcome to another Live from Studio B session here on Montana Public Radio, a special first of 3 live sessions we're having this week as part of our fall fundraiser here at Montana Public Radio. And joining me in studio is Stephen Cepeda. Stephen is the violinist and concertmaster of the Helena Symphony Orchestra, and from the piano faculty at the University of Montana in Missoula, Christopher Hahn joining us once again. Welcome, gentlemen.
Hello.
Thank you. Hello.
Thank you so much for being here. Stephen, as part of a regular thing, you get to perform a piece with the Helena Symphony every couple of years or so. The Shostakovich Violin Concerto is on the program this weekend, and you're going to play a few things for us from that. Helena Symphony concert will be Saturday night at 7:30 p.m. at the Civic Center in Helena. First of all, maybe let's talk a little bit about that piece, and I know you're going to play some stuff for us.
Sure. It was written in 1948, but he had been sort of denounced after his, radical writing style of the Lady Macbeth opera, and so this was something that he put away for a while. He didn't think he would be able to get away with playing it, so some people call it, along with some other pieces, music from the drawer. And so once Stalin had passed away and there was a different political climate, he did premiere this piece in the 50s, like 55.
Recovered and put out then. Yeah. It's described as a virtuosic piece. It's got a lot of different colors and textures and very much that kind of Shostakovich flavor. How would you describe a little bit about, I mean, certainly as a musician playing it, but the piece overall, it's a really interesting.
Yes, it's a great piece to get into Shostakovich because it does have so many elements of his writing. But what might shock you at first is that the first movement is this really dark, brooding 11-minute nocturne. Up and from the time of Mozart, usually we had fast, slow, fast, right? Mm-hmm. And then and then you have this, which is very different, where you used to have a theme, and then the soloist kind of improvises on that, and a second theme very clear. So first of all, you start with that, and so that's very different. And then you do have the fast, slow, fast, with a very wild scherzo, followed by the Passacaglia, which is a Baroque form. So it's in the most basic form, it's just a bass line, and then with a bunch of different variations. And then it ends with a burlesque, which is truly wild and burlesque-like.
Nice. And Chris, of course, he'll be performing this with the full symphony this weekend, but piano, playing the Shostakovich, this must be fun, putting this kind of thing together. I know you're doing chamber music and collaborations all the time, right?
Yeah, it's a time right now. I feel like I'm sort of, don't careful what you wish for. But it's great. I'm thrilled. I love when Stefan reaches out. We get to do this every couple of years, so it's a blast. But I didn't know this piece. I know the cello concerto very well, and there's hints of it in this. Shostakovich is so phenomenal. I think I always love Shostakovich, because he's just amazing. He's one of those great 20th century composers. I told Stefan he's the guy you go to music school to learn about. He's one of those in that upper echelon where you go, what is this amazing stuff? But like modern composers like Danny Elfman, film composer, works with Tim Burton a lot. Shostakovich is probably his spirit animal, that and Prokofiev. I mean, you'll hear a lot of, if you're into Danny Elfman, those kind of his film scores, there's a lot in it that he likes, the quirkiness, the 3-meter, triple meter. There's nothing like a quirky waltz.
All right, I like it.
I've heard someone describe it as David Lynch vibes.
Oh, okay. And you're going to give us a little excerpt now of what, the first movement and then a little bit of another, is that right?
So yes, that sort of really interesting opening movement, and then parts of the opening of the scherzo.
Wonderful. So we're going to have a couple of excerpts from the Shostakovich Violin Concerto performed live in Studio B right now. Stephen Cepeda, violinist, and Christopher Hahn at the keyboard. You are live from Studio B on Montana Public Radio. Pledge your support now, 406-243-6400 or mtpr.org. Excerpts there from Dmitri Shostakovich Violin Concerto. It'll be performed in its entirety with the Helena Symphony Orchestra as part of a concert coming up on Saturday. Joining us live from Studio B during our fall fundraiser, that's Stephen Cepeda, violinist, and Christopher Hahn at the piano, with two excerpts from movements of the larger work, the Shostakovich. Also on the program for the Helena Symphony on Saturday is Ravel's Daphnis and Chloe and La Valse, described as a waltz gone wild. A great program once again from the Helena Symphony, helenasymphony.org for information. That concert is again Saturday night at 7:30 p.m. at the Civic Center in Helena. Thank you. So great to hear you play, and I'm thinking we're getting a taste of this in really a different way, an intro, if you will, to the piece. It's certainly different in the big hall with the orchestra.
Right.
Well, we'll come back and have a couple more. We'll get a chance to visit a little bit more and have a couple more excerpts for you. Thank you so much for joining us wherever you are today. And we'll be back with Stephen Cepeda and Christopher Hahn in a few minutes. We are live from Studio B on Montana Public Radio. And we're back live from Studio B here at Montana Public Radio as we celebrate public radio throughout the week and throughout the afternoon. We'll have some more of a performance today, of course, coming up. We've got other live sessions coming up as part of Public Radio Music Day on Wednesday. And I'm continuing a wonderful session here with Stephen Cepeda. Stephen is the violinist from the Helena Symphony Orchestra and concertmaster, going to be performing the Shostakovich Violin Concerto coming up on Saturday. Christopher Hahn is here from the piano faculty at the University of Montana as well. The concert in question, the Helena Symphony next concert, will be Saturday night, 7:30 at the Civic Center in Helena, and also features, in addition to the Shostakovich, music by Ravel, the romantic drama Daphnis and Chloe, along with La Valse. And the program information and more information is available at helenasymphony.org. Well, we've got a couple more movements to feature here, but Chris, you're going to be back with us. I'd like to just talk briefly on Public Radio Music Day. You're coming back with some of your fellow faculty members for another live session.
That's right.
I think we're going to do 3 o'clock on Wednesday. Mm-hmm. And you've got a number of different little groups and collaborations coming. This is something that as faculty you do regularly. Mm-hmm. But these opportunities for chamber music is something that's built right into the plan, right?
Yeah, it's great when we can play together, when we can carve out that time. But I get to play with our wonderful faculty, Joanna Berg, who's flute, and Dr. Jennifer Kavanaugh, oboe, and also with Dr. Margaret Baldridge and violin. It's Dr. Joanna Berg. I should also give her credit for for doing that. And then also there's an ensemble with Johan Eriksson and Christopher Kirkpatrick, sort of a little wind ensemble. I think also Joanna and Jennifer are in those pieces as well. So it should be fun. Some trios, some duos, some quartets. I think that's what we've got.
We're celebrating public radio, and we're celebrating on Wednesday Public Radio Music Day. Of course, I'd like to, every day is Music Day here on Montana Public Radio for sure. We heard a couple of excerpts from the Shostakovich Violin Concerto, and we've got a little bit more to feature. And I understand you want to say maybe a little something about the piece, and maybe just let everybody know what you're going to play next.
Yes, so this is we're going to play an excerpt from the Passacaglia, which I mentioned earlier is that bass line with the variations. And this movement has, I think, the longest cadenza in all of the violin repertoire. And so when the violinist starts playing in the third movement, they don't stop for about 15 minutes.
Wow.
And it goes straight into the last movement. And so after the first reading, David Oistrakh, who it was written for, begged Shostakovich, said, "Can you please give me a break? Because originally you were supposed to play at the beginning of the last movement." He said, "Can you just give me like a couple bars so I can wipe the sweat from my brow?" And Shostakovich said, "Oh, of course. Why didn't I think of that?" And so the next day he came back with the version that we now know.
Wow.
And so the orchestra takes over, which is probably good for them. They've been sitting there for a long time after the cadenza. So, yeah.
There are certainly other pieces that are certainly a little bit more well-known or performed more often, certainly in the violin concerto repertoire. How often does the Shostakovich happen. Is this something that's a little bit more rare?
It is. It's quite popular though as well, but definitely not as performed as Tchaikovsky or Brahms.
Probably not. Yeah, right.
Or Barb.
Not as often chances for you to play. Okay.
Sure.
Well, good. Well, you've got a couple of excerpts for us, and thank you so much for being here. We're listening to excerpts from the Shostakovich Violin Concerto performed live in Studio B. It's our fall fundraiser, folks. Please pledge your support right now for MTPR at mtpr.org, or you can call this number, 406-243-6400. And now live from our studios, this is Christopher Hahn at the keyboard and Stephen Cepeda, violin. Music by Dmitri Shostakovich performed for us, a preview of sorts, a couple of excerpts from the Violin Concerto. It'll be presented as part of the Helena Symphony concert this weekend. We are live in Studio B with Stephen Cepeda, violinist, and Christopher Hahn at the keyboard from the University of Montana. Very thrilled to have both of you here. Thank you so much for the preview and for taking time to help us during our fundraiser week here at Montana Public Radio. It's been great to have you.
My pleasure.
Absolutely.
Well, and you get to play the whole thing on Saturday for
Yes.
the Helena audiences. Maestro Alan R. Scott, of course, conducting the Helena Symphony and is also artist in residence here at Montana Public Radio. He has been programming regularly pieces that are performed with all of the fine symphonies around Montana. You can hear those works regularly on Morning Classics in advance of those concerts. Thanks again for joining us today, and thanks for coming by the studios. Very glad to have you.
Absolutely.
Great to see you.
Our session today, video was by Jake Williams. Thanks to Jake, and it was engineered and mixed by Jake Birch. Thanks to Ellen R. Scott. Lauren Korn is in master control. I'm Michael Marsolek. You've been listening to another Live from Studio B session on Montana Public Radio. Thank you for listening.